Welcome to our deep dive into demand and elasticity.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, we're going to take what you shared from chapter 5 of your economics text
Okay.
and really bring these concepts to life because,
Yeah,
this stuff could be a little abstract.
it can be.
But
Yeah.
believe me, once you see how it plays out in your daily decisions, you'll realize it's anything but boring.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that most people are already using these principles sort of intuitively
Uh-huh.
without even realizing it. Every time you grab that item on sale or decide to splurge on something special,
Yeah.
demand and elasticity are at work.
Okay, let's start with the demand curve.
Okay.
It's kind of a visual representation of how much people are willing to buy at different prices.
Right.
It's like a map of desire,
I like that.
showing how much people want something at a certain price point.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, as the price goes up, the quantity demanded usually goes down, right?
Right, but what's interesting is that this relationship isn't always straightforward.
Okay.
Different products have different levels of sensitivity to price changes,
Okay.
and that's where elasticity comes in.
Elasticity. That's the real meat of this deep dive, right?
It is.
It's all about measuring how much those quantities change when the price does.
Mhm.
For example,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever noticed, I'm sure you have,
Oh, yeah.
how the price of gas can fluctuate wildly,
Absolutely.
but people still need to fill up their tanks?
Yeah, that's a classic example of what we call inelastic demand.
Okay.
No matter how much the price jumps, the quantity demanded doesn't change that much because people still need to get to work, school, and all the places they need to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there are those items where even a small price increase makes you think twice.
Right.
Like maybe you have a favorite brand of coffee, but if the price goes up even slightly, you might consider switching to a cheaper alternative.
That's a great example of elastic demand where the quantity demanded is very sensitive to price changes. And companies are very aware of this. They use their knowledge of elasticity to strategize their pricing,
Oh, yeah.
to predict how consumers will react and ultimately maximize their profits.
So they're kind of playing a game of chess with our wallets.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Understanding elasticity can actually give you an advantage in this game.
I agree.
It's like knowing the other player's moves before they make them.
Exactly. For example, imagine you're in the market for a new laptop.
Okay.
Understanding income elasticity.
Yeah.
How the demand for a good changes based on your income can help you make a smarter decision.
So if I've just gotten a raise, I might be more willing to splurge on a higher-end model with all the bells and whistles.
Right?
But if I'm tightening my budget,
Mm-hmm.
I might opt for a more basic, practical option.
And what's interesting is that we can actually quantify this relationship using something called Engel's law.
Okay.
It states that as income rises, the proportion of income spent on necessities,
Okay.
like food and housing, tends to decrease. While the proportion spent on luxuries,
Yeah.
like travel and entertainment, tends to increase.
So as we climb the income ladder,
Yes.
our spending habits kind of evolve. We might still buy those basic necessities,
Right.
but we'll likely allocate a larger chunk of our income towards things that bring us joy,
Right, exactly.
enhance our lives.
And companies are very aware of this phenomenon. They target their marketing and pricing strategies based on these changing spending patterns.
This is making me think about, all the different categories of goods we discussed earlier.
Right.
Normal goods,
Right?
luxury goods, necessities, and inferior goods.
Uh-huh.
It's like each category has its own personality when it comes to how demand responds to changes in income.
Absolutely.
Right.
Take normal goods, for example. These are things like clothes, furniture, everyday electronics.
Sure.
As your income goes up, you tend to buy more of these,
Mm-hmm.
but the proportion of your income spent on them might stay relatively stable.
Yeah.
But then there are luxury goods, like high-end cars,
Those fancy vacations.
designer fashion, exotic vacations. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the things that really start to shine as your income increases.
Uh-huh.
The proportion of your income you're willing to spend on them jumps significantly
Right.
because you now have more disposable income to indulge in those little or not so little luxuries.
Right. And this is where understanding elasticity can really help you make smarter choices, right?
It is.
Knowing that demand for luxury goods tends to be more elastic.
Uh-huh.
You might be more inclined to wait for a sale or a special promotion before making a big purchase.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're saying that being aware of these patterns can actually put us in a better position to negotiate with our own desires.
Yes.
It's like we're learning to be more mindful consumers, recognizing that our wants and needs
Yeah,
are influenced not just by our taste, but by our income and the ever-changing prices around us.
precisely. And it's not just about individual choices.
Okay.
This knowledge can empower you to understand larger economic trends. Uh-huh.
And make more informed decisions as a citizen.
Okay, you've got me hooked. Tell me more about how this plays out on a bigger scale.
Well, think about something like a change in tax policy.
Okay.
If the government decides to increase taxes on a certain product,
Right.
knowing the elasticity of demand for that product can help predict how consumers will react.
So if they slap a hefty tax on cigarettes, knowing that demand is relatively inelastic, meaning people will still buy them even if the price goes up,
Right.
they can potentially generate more revenue without drastically impacting consumption.
Exactly. But if they were to try the same thing with a product that has elastic demand,
Mm-hmm.
something that people are more likely to cut back on if the price increases,
Yeah,
they might not see the same revenue gains.
right.
In fact, it could even backfire if people switch to cheaper alternatives
Okay.
or simply reduce their consumption altogether.
This is mind-blowing. We're talking about using economics to shape behavior,
Right.
to nudge people in certain directions.
By manipulating prices and taxes.
It's a powerful tool and one that's used by governments and businesses alike.
Yeah,
But remember, knowledge is power.
absolutely.
And by understanding these concepts,
Yeah.
you can become a more informed consumer and citizen, making choices that align with your values and your budget.
This is already so much more insightful than just reading the textbook.
I'm glad to hear that.
You're really making me think about these concepts in a whole new way. But what about those times
Yeah.
when the demand curve doesn't behave the way we expect?
Okay.
Are there situations where the classic relationship between price and quantity demanded gets flipped on its head?
That's a great question, and it leads us to some of the more fascinating and counterintuitive aspects of demand and elasticity. There are certain products and market conditions where the traditional rules don't quite apply. We'll dive into those scenarios after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive.
Yes.
Before we took a pause, we were talking about how demand and elasticity can be used to predict consumer behavior. Right. But as you were saying, sometimes the demand curve throws us a curveball.
That's right. There are situations where that typical relationship between price and quantity demanded
Yeah.
doesn't hold true.
Okay.
Think about luxury brands, for example.
Okay.
Sometimes when they raise their prices, it actually increases demand.
Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Wouldn't people buy less if something is more expensive?
Logically, yes. But with luxury goods,
Yeah.
it's not just about the product itself, it's about the status and exclusivity that come with it. A higher price tag can actually make a product seem more desirable,
Okay.
more exclusive, and therefore more appealing to a certain segment of consumers.
So it's like that snob effect we sometimes hear about.
Yes.
The higher the price, the more people want it.
Yeah.
Because it signals luxury and prestige.
Exactly. It's a fascinating example of how psychological factors can influence demand.
Yeah.
And companies are very savvy about leveraging this.
Yeah.
They carefully cultivate their brand image and pricing strategies to appeal to that desire for exclusivity.
It's like they're creating a velvet rope
Yeah.
around their products, making them seem even more desirable because they're not accessible to everyone. It's like they're saying, if you can afford it, you're part of the club.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this principle doesn't just apply to luxury goods.
Okay.
Think about the art world, for example. The value of a painting is often tied to its perceived scarcity and the prestige associated with the artist.
So a limited edition print might actually be more desirable than a mass-produced one,
Yes,
even if the quality is the same.
precisely. The perceived scarcity creates a sense of urgency and exclusivity,
Right.
driving up demand and consequently the price.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about economics.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not just about numbers and charts. It's about psychology, perception,
Yeah.
and even a little bit of manipulation.
That's what makes it so interesting.
It is.
Understanding these nuances can help you see through some of the marketing tactics that companies use to influence our decisions.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion,
Yeah,
revealing the complex dynamics at play in the marketplace.
absolutely.
But this brings up another question.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about how companies use elasticity to their advantage.
Right.
But how can we as consumers use this knowledge to make smarter choices?
That's a great question. One of the most practical applications of elasticity is in understanding sales and promotions.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how some sales seem genuinely good,
Uh-huh.
while others feel like a marketing gimmick?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I see a sale and think, wow, what a steal.
Yeah.
But other times it feels like they've just inflated the original price to make the discount seem bigger.
That's where your knowledge of elasticity comes in.
Okay.
If you understand how sensitive demand is for a particular product,
Right.
you can better assess whether a sale is truly a good deal
Right.
or just a clever marketing ploy.
So if I know that the demand for a certain type of clothing is very elastic,
Yeah.
meaning people are very responsive to price changes,
Right.
I might be more skeptical of a huge discount because I know they probably have a lot of inventory to move.
Exactly. But if the demand is more inelastic, like with a new tech gadget that everyone is clamoring for,
Yeah.
a sale might be a genuine opportunity to snag it at a lower price.
This is so empowering.
Mhm.
It's like we're leveling the playing field, arming ourselves with the knowledge
Yeah.
to make more informed decisions.
That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
And this awareness extends beyond individual purchases. It can help you understand larger economic trends
Okay.
and even participate in policy debates.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Hmm.
How can understanding elasticity make me a more informed citizen?
Let's think about something like a proposed tax on sugary drinks. This is a policy that's often debated, with proponents arguing that it can improve public health by reducing consumption.
But wouldn't that depend on how sensitive people are to price changes?
Yeah.
If the demand for soda isn't elastic, wouldn't people just keep buying it even if it costs more?
You're absolutely right. That's why understanding elasticity is crucial in evaluating the potential effectiveness of such a policy. If policymakers know that demand is relatively inelastic, they might anticipate that the tax would generate more revenue than it would deter consumption.
So they'd be focusing more on the revenue aspect than the behavioral change aspect.
Precisely. But if they believe that demand is more elastic,
Yeah.
meaning people are more likely to switch to healthier alternatives or reduce their soda intake if the price goes up,
Right.
they might prioritize the public health benefits over the potential revenue gains.
This is fascinating. It's like we're seeing how economics intersects with public policy,
Mm-hmm.
using these concepts to analyze and debate potential outcomes.
And that's just one example. Elasticity plays a role in a wide range of policy decisions,
Wow.
from housing affordability to environmental regulations.
This deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to the pervasive influence of demand and elasticity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a theoretical concept.
Right.
It's a force that shapes our choices, influences markets, and even impacts policy decisions.
And what's amazing is that we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore within this fascinating realm of economics.
Well, I, for one, am eager to continue this exploration.
I agree.
But before we get too carried away, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned and consider what this all means for our listeners. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring the power of demand and elasticity, uncovering how these concepts influence our decisions,
Yeah.
shape markets,
Absolutely.
and even impact public policy.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
We've seen how understanding these principles can empower you to make smarter choices as a consumer,
Right.
navigate the complexities of the marketplace, and even engage in informed debates about economic issues.
But as with any powerful tool, right,
Yeah.
there are limitations.
Yes, of course.
We've talked about how unexpected events, shifting trends,
Right.
even psychological factors can disrupt those neat predictions based on historical data.
That's right. Elasticity provides a framework for understanding.
Yeah.
But it's not a crystal ball.
Right.
It can't predict every twist and turn in the market or account for every human quirk and irrationality.
So it's important to approach these concepts with a healthy dose of skepticism and flexibility,
I agree.
recognizing that the economic landscape is constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Think about all the technological advancements that are happening right now.
Oh, yeah.
Artificial intelligence, automation, the rise of the metaverse.
Right. Right.
These innovations have the potential to reshape industries, redefine consumer preferences, and fundamentally alter the way we think about demand and elasticity.
So the rules of the game are constantly changing.
They are.
That's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is. For example, imagine a future where personalized recommendations are so sophisticated
Okay.
that companies can predict your needs and desires before you even know them yourself.
Right.
How would that impact traditional models of demand and elasticity?
It's like the whole concept of choice
Yeah.
takes on a new dimension.
Ugh.
Are we really choosing if algorithms are subtly guiding our decisions?
That's a question that economists and ethicists are grappling with right now.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of staying informed and engaged,
Right.
questioning assumptions and adapting our understanding of these concepts as the world changes around us.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've gone from like basic definitions to exploring the psychological underpinnings of demand,
Yeah.
the strategic maneuvering of companies, and even the ethical implications of new technologies.
It's been a whirlwind tour of the economic landscape.
It has.
And I hope it's inspired you to keep exploring,
Oh, yeah.
to keep asking questions, and keep challenging your own assumptions about how the world works.
Absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
But I believe we've equipped our listeners with a valuable set of tools to navigate the complexities of the marketplace and make more informed decisions in their daily lives.
Well said. Remember, economics isn't just about numbers and charts. It's about understanding human behavior,
Uh-huh.
the forces that drive our decisions,
Right.
and the interconnectedness of our choices.
And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into demand and elasticity. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure.
We encourage you to continue exploring these concepts, apply them to your own experiences,
Yes.
and share your insights with the world.